Hello, you're a fabulous friend here, late diagnosed, AuDHD, and we're getting my ducks in a row usually looks like squirrels at a rave. And today we're diving into masking and camouflaging and what that really means for autistic and ADHD brains, why it happens, and how it can affect us as leaders in workplaces or even employees. So if you've ever left a meeting feeling completely drained and wondering why pretending to be normal takes so much more energy than the actual work you're doing, this one is for you. By the end of today's video, you're going to understand the science behind masking, how it shows up in ADHD and autism differently, and also in AuDHD, what it costs as leaders, emotionally, physically, professionally, and how to begin unmasking safely or gently. And if you're new here, I'm Nicola. I'm a leadership nerd, I'm a researcher, late diagnosed AuDHD, and I'm making essentially my little corner of the internet into something for the community of AuDHDers. Now, before we dive in, please remember I have a new book, Unmasking Leadership, which is out on the 10th of December on Amazon. It's for neurodivergent leaders who are tired of performing and ready to lead authentically. It's also for people that are potentially not neurodivergent leaders and wanting to lead their neurodivergent teams well. So please go and order a pre-copy. How fun would that be? It's so cool. I'm so excited. It's so weird. Okay, so let's kind of dive right in. What is masking? Psychologists describe it as conscious or unconscious attempt to hide or compensate for neurodivergent traits in order to appear more neurotypical. In autism research, Dr. Laura Hull and colleagues defined three parts: compensation, so learning scripts or patterns to appear socially competent; masking, which is actively suppressing natural behaviors like stimming or direct honesty; and assimilation, so changing your tone, language, or interests to fit in. Studies show that autistic women and gender diverse people mask more frequently, often starting in childhood. And a 2024 meta-analysis found strong links between camouflaging and anxiety, depression, and exhaustion. So for ADHDers, masking looks slightly different. It's not just social camouflage, it's also overcompensating. We become hyper competent, hyper helpful, hyper aware, hyper independent to hide disorganization or forgetfulness, all of these things that are quite often associated with ADHD. And for those of us that are AuDHD, we double down. We're constantly managing two conflicting systems, one that is really impulsive and distractible, and the other that's hyper analytical and rigid. And it's like running two operating systems that don't share the same charger. So when a diagnostic clinician is assessing for autism or ADHD or both, these patterns are often explored through guided questions drawn from the DSM-5 criteria and structured interviews. So for example, you might be asked things like, do you feel you have to prepare or rehearse conversations before social meetings? Do you copy the way other people talk or gesture or react so you seem more natural? Do you feel exhausted after socializing, even when things go well? These are practical probes for what diagnostic manuals call compensatory strategies. So for ADHD assessment, tools such as the DIVA-5 or the CARS questionnaire also include questions that indirectly reveal masking, like, do you find yourself working twice as hard to meet deadlines as others seem to? Or have you developed elaborate reminders or perfectionist habits to avoid appearing careless? In autism assessments, instruments like the ADOS-2 or the ADR or self-report scales, for example, the CAT-Q, can highlight some of the behavior from another angle, showing a gap between outward competence and internal strain. And clinicians look for those discrepancies, how someone functions in public versus privately, and the emotional cost of maintaining that difference. So when we talk about masking in everyday life, we're describing something that's literally measurable in diagnostic research, not just a metaphor. So for ADHDers, masking can appear as relentless productivity, people pleasing, or becoming the fixer in every meeting to disguise executive function challenges. For autistic people, it might look like mimicking empathy, smiling when distressed. I am notorious for that. I burst out laughing in any stressful situation. So bad. I can't explain it. Or like if someone's crying and I don't know how to respond, God, I just stare at you. You're crying, and I'm like, hmm? So bad. I'm getting better, I swear. I'm trying harder. And for those of us, like me, who are AuDHD, we run both programs at once. We get hyper organized, yet impulsive, socially tuned in, but easily overwhelmed. No wonder it's exhausting. So if you're nodding along thinking, hey, that's me, please hit subscribe so you don't miss out future episodes on neurodivergent leadership and psychological safety. And don't forget, this is a big one, don't forget to grab my cool new book, Unmasking Leadership, your handbook for showing up without burning out. So let's dig a little deeper into this. Masking kind of starts as protection, but the cost of masking is so high. A 2024 study showed that heavy maskers reported significantly higher levels of anxiety and lower overall well-being. So many of us describe the feeling as identity confusion. After years of performing, you start asking, well, who am I when I'm not doing these things? And that's a really hard question to ask yourself. At work, this can look like mimicking leadership styles that aren't authentic to you, over editing emails so you sound professional instead of real. I put a lot of emojis or smiley faces in mine to make sure people know that I'm not grumpy. Rehearsing every word in a meeting and then leaving mentally exhausted, but also replaying the meeting so often afterwards and then changing things as you go. Oy vey. So I'm South African. How yum. I found these in New Zealand. I'm very excited. Anyway, fun facts. Professionally, though, your mask is rewarded. You get promoted for adaptability, but long term, it's honestly a fast track to neurodivergent burnout, not neurotypical burnout. And I want to make that distinction really clear. I've spoken about this before, but maybe I need to do a deep dive into it. When I was first leading national safety programs, I thought professionalism meant perfection. I thought that if you spoke softly or downplayed energy or second guessed every decision, that is what it was supposed to look like. What I didn't realize was that my competence was my mask. And when it cracked, I hit executive burnout so hard that I couldn't even make basic decisions for myself for weeks. Now, what it can actually look like in real life. It sounds pretty clinical. We've gone through like the clinical part. But in real life, masking shows up in the teeniest, tiniest, most ordinary, boring ways, especially at work. Rereading your emails over and over again, not for grammar, but because of how it sounds. Rehearsing what to say at the coffee machine. Did you get caught in the rain this morning? You're already rehearsing that before you even get to work. Sitting on your hands during meetings so you don't fidget or stim. I've got these for my online meetings. I just poke them all the time. Saying you're fine with hot desking. Even though the unpredictability makes your brain itch. Copying colleagues' email sign offs or friendly tone because it feels safer than potentially being yourself. Eating lunch with everyone in the canteen when you'd much rather eat at your desk and have quiet 30 minutes of not hearing people's food crunch around in their mouths, just zone. Each of these looks small, but together they paint a full picture of masking. Micro adjustments that slowly chip away at your energy and your authenticity. That's why clinicians look for those discrepancies, because they want to see how you act in public versus how you feel privately. And the subtle patterns aren't just kind of quirks, they're evidence of long-term adaptation. Now, if this sounds familiar, please give this video a like. It helps other neurodivergent professionals find this content. It helps you remember that you are following me for a reason. And remember, please, this is the key. New book, Unmasking Leadership, 10 December. I cannot wait. This is bonkers. I'm so excited. All right. So why do we actually mask? We mask for one simple reason: safety. Workplaces still aren't built for neurodiversity. A 2025 study by McMahon found that even when candidates disclosed autism after interviews, the perception shifted, and many leaders still feel bias, micro invalidations, or being excluded from high profile projects for their own well-being. So we adapt, but unmasking isn't ripping it off. It's learning where you can safely take it off. And we start by noticing when you're masking. Maybe it's when you flatten your tone in meetings or hide sensory overload behind a calm smile. Awareness is step one. Then find your safe people. For me, it's colleagues who understand I may go quiet after an intense session, not because I'm disengaged, but because I'm just recharging. Finally, model it. When leaders unmask safely, it signals permission for others to do the same. And that's how we shift culture. One authentic conversation at a time. And it's up, you are not going to force someone else to unmask. It's up to them and it's their space. Masking consent. I feel like that needs to be a thing. So, again, reminder, if you are ready to lead without the mask, hit subscribe. I do weekly episodes on inclusive leadership, AuDHD, journaling, all these cool things. And then pre-order the Unmasking Leadership book on Amazon. Just saying. So, let's close this up. What it means to unmask and how we can help others. There's kind of the other side of the story. It's unmasking. Unmasking doesn't mean walking into work tomorrow and dropping every filter you've ever built. It means gradually reclaiming energy and authenticity so that you can function sustainably instead of performatively. So psychologists describe unmasking as a process of self-awareness, safety, and selective authenticity. And research shows that when people feel psychologically safe, when they know mistakes won't be punished and differences are valued, they begin to relax, and those compensatory strategies naturally kind of fall away. So here's what unmasking can look like in real life: self-reflection before action, noticing the situations where you do over edit yourself. Do you over prepare for meetings? You change your tone to sound more professional, force eye contact, start journaling or voice noting when those masks appear. Awareness is the first act of unmasking. Kind of set micro boundaries is the second part. You don't need to declare your neurotype on day one. Start with realistic steps. Turn off your camera when overstimulated. Use written comms instead of spontaneous calls, or request consistent workplace routines. Start small with small acts of alignment, and that can help rebuild your trust in your own needs. What's a safe disclosure? When you do choose to share, do it with intention. Studies on workplace disclosure show that outcomes are better when the environment is informed and consistent, not just sympathetic. So explain what helps, not just what you are. So for leaders, creating space where unmasking is safe is really important. We can hold the keys to that safety. Data from a 2024 Harvard Review of Neurodiversity at Work found that inclusive teams with psychologically safe climates were 2.5 times more innovative and had 30% lower turnover than among neurodivergent staff. So here's how you can support it. Normalize difference. Mention sensory breaks, flexible hours, or communication preferences in team meetings so that it's clear that accommodation is standard practice, not special treatment. Model transparency. If you're neurodivergent, share what helps you focus. If you're not, share times you've struggled to fit traditional norms. That permission is contagious. Shift from performance to purpose, reward outcomes, not office presence or social polish. Masking thrives in performance cultures. Authenticity grows in purpose driven ones. So train for empathy, not etiquette. Teaching staff that what masking looks like is far more effective than forcing inclusive language checklists. Awareness builds genuine compassion. And unmasking isn't about disregarding professionalism. It's about choosing which parts of ourselves we bring to the table and ensuring others can do the same. So when leaders make the choice, visible authenticity becomes the norm, not the exception. So unmasking isn't about being unfiltered. It's about kind of being aligned with your values. It's okay to adapt in certain environments. That's professionalism, politeness. The key difference is choice. When you choose how to present rather than feeling you have to perform, you reclaim your energy, your creativity, and your confidence. And research shows that authenticity at work improves psychological safety and team innovation. When leaders model imperfection, teams mirror trust. So maybe our squirrels might never line up like ducks, but maybe that's the point. Our brains see the connections others miss. So, thanks for watching today, my neuroglorious friends. If you found this helpful, please give it a like, hit subscribe, and share it with fellow AuDHDers, ADHDers, and autistics who might still be wearing their mask a little too tight. And remember, Unmasking Leadership launches 10th of December on Amazon. Go grab a copy now, and let's build workplaces where no one has to hide to belong.